Good evening, this is the May 6, 2014 Board of Water Commissioners meeting for the town of Raleigh. In attendance of 3 commissioners and our staff and several in the audience. First order of business is we have an appointment with the building inspector and the fire department, fire chief, and discuss the water treatment plant construction and change orders. Would you like to come up? Thank you.
All right, the first thing that I gave you was what control construction is, because I think there's some confusion about it. Control construction is, there is a registered design professional who's in charge of the job, and the plans are drawn by him, reviewed by him, for code compliance. I just check everything out over to make sure it's built according to the code that we're under. I don't really look at the plans, I don't get into that.
Okay.
They're responsible to read certain points of the job. They're responsible for being there, making sure that it's done according to the way the plan is drawn. If they deviate from the plan on any egress, any fire, safety, or structural, then I have to have drawings. I have to have documentation of what they changed.
Okay.
And if you look at the change orders, a lot of structural stuff has happened there, and I heard nothing about any of it.
Okay.
The only 2 calls I got from Mrs. Sikora were, one was a plumbing issue, and I directed him to the plumbing inspector, or took care of it through the plumbing inspector. It got worked out. The second one was a month and a half ago about the glass. The mason made the frames too small to receive the glass that's in between the HUs, the plant,
Yep.
and the BUs. The big piece of glass there.
Yep.
And they wanted to know if they could substitute it with other pieces of glass. And I said, yeah, as long as it meets the 1 hour fire rating. You have to give me documentation that it meets the 1 hour fire rating. The long and short of it, after we had a meeting at the office, the long and short of it is that they made the frame shorter. They used the original glass. So it became a non-issue.
They made the frame bigger.
No, they made the frame smaller because the glass was too big for the frame. So they made the frame smaller.
Okay. So they modified the frame?
Modified the frame, yeah.
Okay.
But they satisfied the 1 hour fire rating. So that, and I got documentation on it. And that's the way it's supposed to work. If you look at these other issues on these change orders, anything structural, I pointed out that when, first of all, nobody ever contacted me. Second of all, I have no documentation on any of it.
Okay.
So I fail to see how he can say it's substantially complete, built according to the plan, when they've deviated on all of these things from the plan, and I have no paperwork. That's one of the reasons why we didn't have the electrical inspector that day, because I hadn't gotten any paperwork from anybody.
Okay. And this list of change orders, Ken, is there any other, where's the electrical things, for example?
Oh, I didn't even do
Just
them.
the structure?
I just did the structural and
Okay.
the things that affected me. I didn't even do
So there's
any
more?
plumbing. Oh,
Okay, there's more.
there's all kinds of issues in there, but I didn't address the plumbing, I didn't address the electrical. Because the electrical engineer, the mechanical engineer, they have to sign off too. They have to give me documentation.
Yeah,
that it's substantially complete and built according to the plans. And again, if they made changes, if I go through the change orders and they made changes, and we have no documentation, I'm gonna require it.
okay. Okay, so maybe you need to get the required documentation before the town signs off on substantial completion.
Well, I'm the one to sign it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would assume that the town, I hope that the town is gonna back me and not say, well, we're not gonna worry about it, because that would not be a good thing.
What needs to happen right now is, as I understand it, you need to get plans, the design changes, and what there was done. So it's almost like they should have some kind of an as-built type thing.
When I talked to John Sikora yesterday briefly, and I mentioned this problem about the drawings, he seemed to think that there was a drawing someplace, a revised drawing, he led me to believe,
Okay.
but nobody's produced anything. I've seen nothing, Tim. I've seen nothing, and I have nothing from the architect, I have nothing from the structural engineer, the mechanical engineer, or the electrical engineer, as of this date. No.
In order to have a revised plan though, wouldn't they have had to come back to you as the building inspector?
Well, when he say revised, when he says a revised plan, that might not be the exact terminology.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what he was talking about, I didn't get into it, because I thought that he was gonna be at the meeting tonight. I told him we were having a meeting tonight. I thought he was gonna be here. He didn't tell me that he wasn't, so.
I did ask John Hargraves, who's our consultant, if he's seen any of the documentation and has a chance to review anything, and he didn't seem to respond to me on that specific question.
Yeah, I mean, all I got was that he thought that there was something, but don't know if and when I'm gonna see it. That's an issue.
Okay.
I mean, if you just look at, you know, for instance, the second item, or even the first item on the change order number 4, the makeup air unit, they changed it to a larger unit due to 65-degree temperature. When they drew the plans, they didn't know that the temperature had to be 65 degrees in there. So they had to get a bigger unit. I issued a mechanical permit for that size unit that was on the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if that unit didn't go in, I need new documentation for the bigger unit.
Okay. Well, would there be an as-built plan that they'd probably be working on? I don't know.
I don't think that on that particular one, Tim, that wouldn't really be an as-built. It's just the unit itself is different, so it's more BTUs.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the ductwork is different. Everything has changed. And they give me a manual with that unit,
Yeah.
a manual J that tells me all the things about it that I put in the file. Now, if they change it to a larger one, I didn't know anything about it.
Well, how big is your file now as far as the plan is concerned?
Which one? I have a couple of different files.
So you got a file for the structural stuff and for the plumbing and heating?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, several different files.
Because they designed it, and they would have given us so we have a plan here, and you have a plan with the application for the building?
Yeah, I have the giant set that you have, and then I have a small set too.
Okay. All right.
That was drawn in 2012. Look at the second change order, item number 4. They changed the column. That's structural.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why they had to wait until they were constructed, and why they didn't pick it up on the review of the plans, but I don't know. I don't know why, but I got nothing about that.
Well,
That's pretty substantial.
When you talk to Sikora, did he say that, these plans are gonna be on as-built, or I don't know?
No, he wasn't specific at all,
Okay,
at all.
so he needs to be
I'm
more
gonna
specific.
I'm gonna have to sit down and talk to him.
So it makes sense that maybe have you and Hargraves and Socorro sit down and
Yeah, definitely,
pass through all these things, right? We also,
yeah, sooner than later.
yeah, when did you, well, have you talked to them about getting a meeting together, or?
No, because I wasn't in the office today,
Yeah,
but I'll be
okay.
back tomorrow,
Okay.
Thursday.
Ken, while you're here, when I was at the last water board meeting, I had asked John Hargraves, and I believe it was on the next change order, if we can review the memo from Mr. Ward. I mean, this may have been modify the structural beam, I'm not sure, but that may have been one that we discussed last week that I brought up, I'm sorry, during the construction meeting.
This is the one,
Okay,
okay,
number-
a different one. Change order 7
7.
and 4.
I was told that by the town's consultant, John Hargrave, that, you know, the town didn't pay for a perfect plan. And I guess I don't know the building code, you're the building inspector, and I'm trying to review the regulations under controlled construction. But what I'm trying to figure out is, should the town not be, have the expectation that an occupancy permit should be, that we should be able to get an occupancy permit based on the plans and the way the building is constructed. I was told that we didn't pay for a perfect plan. And we were trying to discern, I know I had some selectmen in the audience, you know, well, what percentage of the plan, I mean, should we expect to be correct because of the number of change orders that seem to result from the design. These are not change orders as a result of unexpected ledge in the ground and uncontrollable environmental conditions. These are change orders resulting from a design that says things are going to be this way, and then we find out that they're not this way. And I know that the selectmen have been very concerned about the nature of these change orders because they seem to be design flaws. They don't seem to be related to uncontrollable environmental conditions. And we're trying to figure that out. Do you know, in terms of being a building inspector, what the term a perfect plan means? That if it was, that we should not have that expectation. I'm believing, in my experience, that we should be able to occupy the building. I have an expectation we'll be able to occupy it.
In 40 years of working in construction, I have never heard that.
As a term
I've never heard,
of a
I
permit.
never heard anybody say that. I've heard people say, well, we missed it. Okay, sorry, we missed it. Now, who's gonna pay for it? That's an issue, but if they admit that they missed it, but if somebody says that it's not a perfect plan, you didn't pay for a perfect plan. We paid for a plan that was supposed to meet the 2009 International Building Code.
Mhm.
That's what we paid for. And if they are building the building and that structural column doesn't support the roof and it's shown on the plan, then that plan was not done right. Who's responsible for that?
Well, I think that was the position that I took, that, you know, I really
The design professionals
didn't
didn't
believe that
design
the
it
town
right.
was responsible for that.
The architect drew it, the structural engineer obviously missed it.
Because these were structural issues.
These are structural
It was made as a
issues.
code issue.
The architect draws it pretty, all right? I mean, it looks great. But generally, my experience is, I'm not gonna say most, but a lot of architects don't know how things go together until you get out in the field. And that's why you work with a contractor, be it the architect or the structural engineer. You work with a contractor and you make things right on the job. But the building inspector is involved. I don't care if it's a house or if it's this water treatment plant. It's the same rationale.
I think we need to get an emergency meeting, get Mr. Ward involved with the contractor and Weston and Sampson and all that, to straighten all this mess out.
Well, what I did after Tuesday's water board meeting last week, I ran the proposed change order for the gap in the ceiling and the wall by the fire chief, because it was being proposed as a cosmetic fix to the gap, and they were proposing PVC. So I called up the fire chief. I had left the meeting and was still feeling that I didn't have a thorough knowledge of what I was being told by the town's consultants, and he indicated to me that PVC is not the right kind of material to put in, to fill in between a gap and a ceiling and a wall, and suggested that I contact Ken. And so there was an inspection done. We had and a preliminary memo from the building inspector, and then he went back the next day, and I had Selectman Snow, Selectman Peterson, and they got some pictures that the building inspector has, and they were, Ken spent the weekend reviewing things, so we could just figure out exactly what was happening with the structure of the roof and why there's this gap, and if PVC can actually be put in. You guys, you could probably explain a little bit more. I don't know, there's energy code, fire code, building code.
The main problem is that wall between the business use and the H use, not the whole wall, only to where it jogs, the business jogs. That wall has to be fire rated, a 1 hour fire rate.
The interior wall.
Right. The interior wall where it's against the business use. That's to be a 1 hour fire rating. And when I pressed John Sikora about why there was a gap in the first place, why the wall didn't go all the way up, and he was telling me that all they have to do is put a sill on there. And I to be honest with you, I'm gonna have to go out there and talk to him, because I don't follow, that's not the way the drawing shows. The drawing shows the trusses sitting on top of a sill plate. So if the trusses are up there and then they're gonna add a sill plate, how is it sitting on top of the sill plate? I don't understand. I don't get it. But the PVC is not rated for a firewall, a 1 hour rating.
Yeah.
It can't be used on that, period. Now, if they want to put it on the other parts of the wall, that's a different issue, because the other wall's on fire rated.
We were led to believe this trim is cosmetic, and that's not to be the case.
Well,
The firewall on the outside,
not in that section, it's not.
on the outside walls, the PVC up there, you need something up there to meet the energy code.
Well,
Am I correct?
again, Stewie, I haven't got up there, I haven't actually got up there and looked
Yes.
in there. But if there's a gap up there, and this is built under the 2009 energy code, and you have a space, even though you have a block wall and you have a void there, you can't have a space going from the inside. That'll cause condensation and I don't know what other kind of problems. So at least that has to be insulated before anything's done up there. And then if they want to put the PVC, well then that would be cosmetic. But I'm saying that there could be an energy code issue up there. I don't know until I get into it.
So, I was under the impression that that wall continued up beyond the ceiling up to the roof. Is that the case, or?
That is the way it's shown on the plan, but it's not on top of that wall. It's separate. It jogs in
Okay,
over the B use, and it goes up to the underside of the trusses.
okay. What happens between the underside of the trusses and the roof? Yeah,
I don't know,
okay.
because, like I said, on the drawing that I look at, all the trusses are supposed to be sitting on a sill plate. And now I've been told that they're built up on top of duplex walls.
Okay, so you need to continue your investigation.
Absolutely.
You're just finding out that you never saw any of the change orders, and now the plans, because of the change orders, the plans should have been revised, and you haven't seen them, you don't have them on record. And when were you supposed to have the final inspection? Before or after the?
Nobody's even called. Nobody even called me about. Until my electrical inspector said he was going up to do a final last Thursday.
Okay,
And the fire protection
On Wednesday.
systems haven't been inspected yet either. And
okay,
there is some issues that we have to address there. There's a lot of domestic water that have OS and Y valves on them that need to be marked as being domestic water or internal, not fire protection,
yeah,
because red usually indicates fire protection. They need to be changed in color because they don't shut the sprinkler off or open them up. There's a PI valve out in the back that most firefighters relate to the fire suppression system. That's for something entirely different.
yeah,
And the hydrant's way too low to the ground. And I don't know if they've done landscaping up there yet, but if it sits where it's at now, it's gonna be completely useless to us because it's gonna be too low to the ground. We will not be able to get anything on it.
I see.
And like I said, we haven't been out there yet. There's a couple of utility rooms that have the gap from the ceiling. They should be sealed off too. And any place that has a penetration of the wall for pipes, ducts or anything like that needs to be sealed with fire rated sealant. Some of the stuff is sealed, other stuff isn't.
Yeah,
And so basically what you've done is not having those walls sealed right with the appropriate sealant is you might as well have a big open wall, hole in the wall, because fire and smoke and heat is going to go right through and cause even bigger problem than if it stayed in one area.
okay, so you think it's a good game plan if you, John Hargraves, the chief, and the design engineer have a meeting and just kind of go through all these things?
Oh, definitely.
Because right now, it's, I think that they're gonna be, they wanna do is get a, they already started a punch list. They already have a punch list going, so you probably haven't had the opportunity to see that. We just saw it today.
No.
Okay, so it's got that, and then, Mr. Hargraves told me he wanted to add some stuff to it, so, what we need to do is, get everybody working together on this, so we can get this punch list together right now, within the week, and then get this thing going, because we wanna be able to start working with, getting this water plant online.
We got one more issue too.
Okay.
It's a big one, and it's the road. It's horrible.
Yeah,
I can't afford to be replacing springs on trucks if I have to go out there.
yeah,
That is horrible, horrible, horrible. I was in the Tahoe and I scraped bottom a couple of times. I don't know how you went out there with your Mercedes.
Creative driving.
And if it's not maintained, it's just gonna get worse.
What is the deal there? We hot topping that or just putting on ground stuff? or
they're
what
gonna
was it?
grade it. Yeah,
So is that under the contractor's requirements?
I believe so.
No, I'm not, because I'm not familiar with this.
Great.
I asked that question. I think it's speculation on my part. I think what they're probably doing is waiting until the contractor gets his forms out of there and all that other stuff. And most of the rock trucks are out of there, and they're just doing landscaping before they, put the final touches on the road, because I don't, maybe, it makes sense for them to do that, but not do it twice. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
it should be maintained to some kind of safe standard. And what's the plan from this point forward of keeping it maintained and allowing us also access to the state forest? I know when I realized that it was too late because it all turned to ice, but there was a big snowbank. And if we have to get into the forest to get someone that fell off a horse, and we've been out there numerous times for that, the only way in and the only way out is on foot. And that's not fun when they're
Yeah,
half a mile down. And
right.
we gotta walk in with everything and walk back out.
So we need to make sure that when we plow it in the winter
That it's clear.
that it doesn't have a big snow pile at the end there,
Yeah.
so he gets him access. So maybe we could make sure that they keep that gate clear.
It does, as long as it's something that we can get.
They're out there anyway doing it, so.
Yeah,
So there's gotta be a procedure there that somebody's gonna get on top of that. So, what I would think is a good idea is that you got all the structural things here. There must be some electrical things that they can look at. I don't know what the timing was, or is, or was gonna be, or why you weren't included, but, right now, we need to get ourselves together on the same page and get this thing going, because right now, we're faced with a schedule where we want this plant to start combining water to the water treatment system so they can shut down well 5, which is a cluster of wells, and do the work there so we can just keep this thing going on. We don't want to sacrifice any quality or anything, but that, in my opinion, estimation, we would want everybody, whatever was done in the past that should have been done, we want it done right now. So, do you want to, coordinate that call with Sikora and Hargraves tomorrow? Okay. And then you can report back at the next meeting and tell us what the progress would be. You think we should have a meeting next Tuesday night just so we can get an update on this thing? I think that's kind of important that we have.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll see. I'll see what's going on. I can't. I'm just speculating right now.
Right.
But
But they've given you the change
available
orders.
tomorrow.
They've given you change orders. You just haven't seen any plans to go along with those change orders. Okay.
No, and I have a bunch of questions about. Up there.
John, do you think Weston is involved in this, or the ones that?
Yeah, Sikora. And
Yeah.
Sikora's, he's the clerk of the works of and everything that gets done out there. He's he's like the building inspector, on-site building inspector, or the design engineer, I believe. Is that what?
He represents the town.
Yeah. But I don't.
He's the clerk of the works that represents the town. That's
Yeah.
why we were
The only
surprised he hadn't sent anything to the building inspector.
The only person that I dealt with was an architect to come out of Boston, David Steves, and he's the one that came in with the original plans. But his name, I don't know if his name is even on the original plans. I don't know, Tim.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's just get it together and get this thing rolling.
Exactly.
And then you're going to work with the chief, or the chief is going to be included in this because of the fire issues he's bringing up. And then, because right now is the time where they're putting together their punch list. And I've seen their first stab at it. There are some other things that will be added to it. And the people that have been working on it are Hargraves, Sikora, of course Weston and Sampson. And you should have been on it, but, let's just try to move on from there.
I mean, Jim and I were available to go walk through at any time if somebody just called.
Like they did with the glass. And they had early on in the construction phase, they had a problem with the supply line for fire department connection. You had to move it. That was the only 2 times I've ever had any contact with up there.
Who called you on that time, Chief?
It was over a year ago. I don't remember.
I think the contractor's supposed to call you, so
Yeah.
I don't know if the communication, it could be one of these, where the contractor.
Irregardless, but they did we went out there and we made a change. We were able to identify where we could have the thing run out. And then with the glass, Ken and I were both involved in that between the 2 occupancies. But that's the only time I've had any correspondence or contact with them.
Okay, and then Ken, your department's only had a couple of times you can contact with them, or?
Yeah, I mean, early on, I got calls from the guy that worked for Ron, that worked for Kinsman. He would call me and tell me that they get ready to pour concrete or whatever, and I would go out there periodically. But if anybody from Kinsman had called me, I would have gone out there.
Is Ron still working up there?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I have no idea. I mean, if it didn't have to be Weston and Sampson, it could have been Kinsman. I don't care who it is. You want me to look at it to see if it's near completion? I'll be glad to go out and look at it, but I'm not a mind reader.
I assumed that you guys were out there all the time. I really did. So let's just try to get this thing on the right track. I can't be, I think the board feels that, do we need a vote for anything here? I think we just need to have a meeting. You guys need to have a meeting. Let's get this thing going, because now's the time.
I'll call them tomorrow.
And then, I don't know, it's just unfortunate that it just spun out of control this way, so. I would assume that there must be some drawings out there that they changed designs. They must be on top of that, because we see the bills coming here from Weston and Sampson.
Yeah, don't assume anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, at the end of a project like this, is there a specific earmark that they say, okay, we gotta call the town code enforcement officer? And he's gotta, approve this?
When they have their letter, they're ready for substantial completion.
Okay, all right.
And then that's when I go out, I can't believe that they're doing a punch list. Well, I mean, I can believe it, but
We talked to them briefly today. I think that they were working on a punch list. They had other contractors, design people in there, and they wanted to get the list together, and it just
okay,
it didn't come out quick enough, I guess. And
okay.
there's also, our representative Hargraves, had looked at it, and there was a few things that he felt that should have been on that list. So the thing here is that just everybody, we got to work together as a team to get this thing
Yep.
going, and then,
Oh, there's probably 3 messages on my machine.
yeah. Okay.
But
So
hopefully they'll call.
that sounds like a plan, right? Debbie, can you have anything that? Yeah?
No, well, I just think that the board needs to be aware that the contractor is looking for the retainage to be released under the substantial completion contract terms and conditions. And he has taken measures, and I asked Carmen to provide the board with the email that I received Saturday, because I felt it was quite serious. Taken measures to basically change the way things are being done. Water department personnel can only be in there now with permission, and there's some things like that. He's taken the poly membrane offline, so it's been, quote, laid up, so the system isn't running now. So that was a concern, and I think that was a sort of a direct reaction by the contractor, and no movement on his request for substantial completion. Now, the letter from Kinsman to Weston and Sampson on the substantial completion was emailed, I believe, on the 21st or 22nd. It was received in hand, which is a contract requirement, on April 28th. When I was here on the 29th, the contractor did ask John Sikora where things said. He said he's still reviewing it. I saw John Sikora today, and I asked him, what time period under the contract do you have to review substantial completion and get back with the punch list? And he said 21 days. So I don't believe that the contractor is being fair in allowing us to review what needs to be done. So this is very important that, the clerk of the works is in contact with Ken Ward and Chief Roderick, because there may be a lot of things that need to be done.
Yeah.
I'm hearing from him. I was surprised that the building inspector wasn't involved with this early on.
There are still pending change orders as well.
Exactly. And I was astonished to find out that many of the items had already been done without authorization of the water board. So, I mean, I've been here helping out as the town administrator, and I was surprised to learn at the construction meeting on Tuesday last week that there were a number of items that had been done. Some of them, I think, was a year ago.
When's the next construction meeting?
May 27th at 9:30.
So these are things that.
Have you
absolutely-
ever attended a construction meeting?
Early on, I think I did.
Okay, so was there invitations that were extended to you at the time that you attended, or?
I can't remember if they kept me in the loop or not.
Well, that's part of the problem right now. So, they should have invited you to these construction meetings, I think. And there's something that was missing too. So, there are construction meetings once a month. I believe you should be there, obviously.
When are they?
They're usually in the morning sometime, okay?
Well, I would expect that John Hargraves, as the town's consultant, would be the one to initiate that. He's
Well, I think
overseeing
that
this project
There's
on
been
behalf
there's a
of the
communication.
town.
There's a communication glitch here, so.
I would say so, yes.
Well, let's,
It's a big one, but it's not.
yeah, so we need to get this thing going, and we need to get this, everybody on the same page, and.
Well, I foresee there's gonna be some problems with the contract.
Yeah, it could be,
I think
yeah.
I think that's something that the board needs to realize, because, you know, as I said, he's taken a lot of measures right now based on that email communication, and we have the town's attorney looking into this, and she's
Okay.
reviewing the contract terms. The selectman's office was never provided with a copy of the contract. Carmine brought it over today. The town council doesn't have this document. So we are looking at that, because there may be issues that we need to be aware of, and the last thing that we want to see is this project extended because of all the compliancy issues under the consent order. So I just want to make sure that the board is aware of it. I consider this to be very serious. I think that you need to take that into consideration when I say that, you know, we have to really work to get these things ironed out. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of time by not involving the building inspector and the fire chief.
Where is John Hargreaves tonight?
He's got a course, he's taken some continuing education courses, so. Would it make sense, Debbie, for you to be at this meeting with Ken, the chief, Hargraves, and Sikora?
It would, but if, depending on my availability,
Okay.
but, you know, if John Hargraves is our consultant and person in the field, then it would be good if he absolutely has to be there. I will try to be there. I'm not, you
I
know, a construction expert. I will certainly make myself available if I can.
Well, some contract questions might come up, now that you got a copy of the contract, so, I don't know, and
The
then,
contract's this big.
yeah,
I
John
just
is pretty,
saw it today.
it's just, John Hargraves is pretty proficient in that, so, I mean, you
So
know,
we need to make sure he's doing the things that the board is expecting that he's supposed to be doing and getting him involved. I asked him specifically if he had reviewed any of the documentation that the building inspector needs in order for, you know, to start the process for an occupancy permit, and he didn't, he wasn't clear on me on that. So I'm not sure what he's provided, what he's looked at.
We need to work together, and Ken, can you bring this thing together for us? Really appreciate it. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would suggest that if this meeting is set up, that you have someone for the board, a board member, if possible, because you're down to the nitty-gritty here, and it sounds like the board is not sure what's going on either. And I think at this stage of the game, until this project reaches completion, that some member of the board needs to be at these meetings to make sure that everyone's on the same page and understands exactly what's going on here, because we're getting to the point where it's seriously being considered for legal action either by the town or by the contractor or whomever. And we'll throw the DEP in here with their set of completion requirements in a timely manner. I think someone from the board needs to be right on top of this, so that no one can come back and say, well, we didn't understand. I think part of the problem seems to be that these emails fly all over the place. But, you know, person-to-person communication seems to be lacking from
Okay, we need to get this thing going on real quick, and one of us, I believe, will be available. We'll have to work that out amongst ourselves. For availability. I don't want to hold you guys up, because I gotta watch, you know, somebody, you know, in the afternoons or something, or I'm tied up with a job, and then Stu's busy, and Roy's driving a truck most of the time, so between the three of us, we'll have somebody at that meeting. It's a good idea.
The bottom line is, we've had two clerk of the works here, and long and the short of it, we've been let down.
Well, just so the board knows, John Sikora told me today that the system can be offline for about 30 days without having to retest everything. Because that's my biggest concern, is that now that he's shut the plant down, Hinsman, are we gonna have to go through 100 water quality tests for different things again? That's gonna cost us, as the email alludes, you know, he sees on record saying that in that email. So I just think, like, we, you know, he's looking for his retainage, and we need to get the punch list to him and then work out in a meeting with him, what's gonna be done and what, you know.
Well, I think, didn't we find out too that it's not the complete retainage that he'd be getting if he got this
No.
substantial release from.
Well, he's looking for that.
He's looking for a good
and
portion.
it's-
So anything that would be on a punch list
So
could
I
still be
straightened out this
available.
mess, as far as I'm saying, he doesn't get anything.
Yeah, so,
We need to know that we'll be able to get an occupancy, a partial occupancy permit, if that's the correct terminology, under substantial completion release. And if we're not close to that, based on the number of things that I heard about, the fire alarm system and
Yeah, once
the hydrant, you know, this is in a location that's, quite desolate, things like that, that may require.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I've been in there a couple of times, but I have not really looked around. I
I can tell.
looked at certain things, but we haven't really looked around.
No,
real close.
other
We
than
gotta get in there.
oh, no.
when the system was, they brought the chemicals in, they called us, we went up and kind of had a tour of the process. We didn't look at the rest of the building other than walking around. They were still working on the fire alarm system at that point. When we were there last Tuesday, they were still doing some wiring and what have you. As soon as I get a call from the sprinkler company and the fire alarm company, we'll go out and do an inspection, but as of yet, that has not happened.
Does communications have anything to do with that? Because right now they're waiting to they need to shut the well 5 down to rerun the communications cable.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Usually when the contractors are done, they call me. And both companies have done business in town before, and they're very good at
Yeah.
calling. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so I think that's part of the riddle there is the
Yeah, I
communications
think
cable.
I know what's going
Okay. All right.
on, but problems at the top.
Okay. All right, well, that's a game plan. So you're gonna call them up in the morning and.
Yep.
Okay.
First thing?
And then you have my email address, I think,
Yeah, that's right.
so. And then I could coordinate it on our end, and then Debbie could do that.
Yeah, I'll get a hold, I'll let somebody know when.
Most important thing is you get some things to look at
Yeah.
before we
Oh,
come to
yeah.
the meeting. If you're handed things
Yeah.
at the meeting, I don't wanna sit around because you're not gonna have time to review it. He needs the documentation, he
Yeah.
needs the affidavits from all these various mechanical, electrical, all these.
I think
Fields.
I'm also gonna reach out to the architect tomorrow. Because I'm not even sure if the architect even knows any of this stuff. I mean, I'm sure he knows about design and construction, but if he's even been asked to do anything.
We got the change orders that were,
Yeah, I gotta find out. I'm just gonna go with him.
Tim,
I'm going to the top.
Kenny's setting up a meeting, so get together there. Can we move on? These ladies have to get home to their families.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, thank you very much, Ken.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Okay, so new business, accept minutes from April 8th, 2014. Have you folks had a chance to review that?
I have read them.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept them?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for April 8th, 2014.
Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Then also on April 12th, 2014.
I have read them.
And do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make the motion to accept the minutes for April 12th,
Do I have a
2014.
second? Second by Roy, all in favor? Aye.
Can we skip down here to
You
see?
gotta vote aye.
say aye.
Yes, it is.
Can we skip down here to,
Do we need to talk about? We do have a few items on here, Mr. Gazel, we want to just talk about to make sure things are flowing. And under B, the warrant and purchase order, we just want to clarify what the current process is. For the review of that, we certainly don't want to be holding up the operation of the department, and we're not sure on how that process works.
Okay.
Because I did ask you to come down and review some of these purchase requisitions so that things can move forward that the water operators need to do their jobs. I don't know if you've reviewed those or what the process is, so Aaron and I are trying to get some clarification on that.
Okay. I think we discussed it at the last meeting, or the meeting before that, is that purchase orders should be prepared or overseen by the superintendent. And from the purchase orders, the bills come in, and then what typically happens is either the chairman or the clerk or whoever's available will review those bills and initial them. And what we've been doing in recent months is we've been reviewing it in meetings. Okay, so that's taken some time. So we review it and discuss it at the meetings. So this policy of the purchase order has got to be put together by the staff, reviewed by the superintendent. Is something that maybe we should vote on.
Do you have a threshold for what requires a purchase order? How do you determine whether or not something requires a purchase order?
Basically, we changed it about a year ago, right, when Laura was on, everything had to have, when everything was going on, everything had to have a purchase order, because they were getting out of control.
And so the superintendents or the water board would be going through the purchase orders at that point. I think it needs to be streamlined. It needs to be, gone through by the superintendent. And a dollar amount and its description, I think he's only allowed to sign off on anything under 5,000. You remember look at that? On his position description?
Well, that was on the prior job description that was in there, and the personnel board is not, that was written in, I believe, 1997 or so. The personnel board did not have that language in the new rewrite.
Okay.
We
So-
would not recommend a threshold in any employment, any job description, or something like that. We reference the state code, the state and local, regulations and bylaws and laws and things like that.
I know we did mention one time here, a couple of months back, well, not needing the purchase orders for the chemicals that was coming as a delivery, on a monthly basis, a weekly basis. But I mean, like a nap or something, all that kind of things, so I don't know.
Well, we've been trying to get this more organized over the last, say, 6 or 8 months, and we've gotten consortiums involved for chemicals, because that seems to be a heavy dollar item thing. So we wanted to get purchase orders for that and labs and stuff. That just hasn't been done yet. So what would you recommend we do? I mean, we're looking at, we have purchase orders. I think that we're having trouble meeting the demands of being in the department every day, because these purchase orders come in on an as-needed basis, and that, some of them planned, some aren't. But the superintendent usually looks at that, initials, and says that's an okay expense. I'm not saying that, it's the ultimate authority is the board to look at the total cost to see if there's been bidding done and things of that nature. So that's what's been done. That's what has been done. So we see a lot of POs at the same time things are ordered up. So there's a lot of emergency purchases here too. So.
Is that a folder of pending purchase orders?
Well, pending purchase orders and bills.
So it looks like some of those have already been ordered, which kind of defeats the purpose.
So a lot of these things like This one here is from Mayor Services. So what we've been doing is saying, okay, what is this for and why? And that goes on to the purchase order or the bill. So we're feeling more comfortable in signing it. So I think that the expert, the professional that's watching the department on behalf of the board should be approving purchase orders. And the bill should be, initialed to match the purchase order.
Mhm.
So in other words, a bill comes in and matches the purchase order or doesn't. Or there's an explanation why, and it should be put on the thing, on the bill to say, okay, this is what happened. This is why the purchase order doesn't match the bill. And because of an unforeseen whatever, and then the person reviewing, which is typically the chairman, looks at that and has a proper explanation for it, and then moves it forward, okay? And then I believe it should be, from here, it should go to a warrant, which then goes uptown.
Right, and it seems like if you got your purchase order system in order, the person that creates the purchase order says, okay, I need this, it's signed off on, here's what it's for. Then when the bill comes in, the accountant can take the bill, match it to the purchase order, look at the purchase order, and know where it gets charged, which would cut back on the time that, the board needs to review bills because you've already reviewed the purchase order. So, it seems like there would be different levels. If it was something that was, chemicals that you order regularly, it would seem like maybe that would be something, that in the absence of a superintendent, an operator could approve. And they should also be, saying, okay, we have a purchase order, we ordered this, someone else has to check off that, yes, you know what, we received this, this, and this, and, sign off that it's received, and then when it goes to accounting, it can be more streamlined when it gets to you guys, and you don't have to spend as much time on ordinary things. If it's something that's not typical or not ordinary, then it makes sense, for the board to sign off on the purchase order. But it seems like, there are things that are more routine that could be, signed off at a lower level. But I mean, you guys are in the water business. You would have to determine, what are those things?
Most of these emergency purchases or things that happen on a spur of the moment without a purchase order, and then immediately, usually happen at the water operator level. And what typically would happen would be that water operator, we call the superintendent, said, we just blew a line on Main Street, we got to get, a new this or whatever. And he says, okay, and then when it comes in, the PO, whoever ordered the part up usually puts the PO together. And the superintendent would look at that to see if it was complete. Now, I've looked at these a lot of times, and I said, okay, instead of putting Georgetown Building Supply, they don't put an address down there, and they have no reason for why they needed to get it, or whether it's an emergency or whatever.
Or where it should be charged.
We'll just pass it back, and say, well, you don't have enough information, because I've said that right along, is that whoever orders it, he has to order it, but he also has to fill the form out, and be more complete on it. So I'm pretty sure all the operators order up stuff on an as-needed basis, that they're all working as a team. So I think that, in my experience, that this PO, us approving something that's already been ordered, it should be, the superintendent should be authorized by down here. In other words, the superintendent looks at it, okay, I remember that, he had to order that stuff up. He puts that together, and he puts the bill with it, through Carmen or whatever, and then the bill goes before us with a copy of the PO. And I don't know, there's so many copies here. I don't know what happens with these copies, so, I mean, we usually get a package of, 3 POs, and, what should happen with that. So I think that there should be a cross-reference or a cross-file for POs, and the superintendent should put down the category that this is supposed to go into, so Bridget can do it, or maybe Bridget can do that. take this and put a category. She has,
She's not gonna know if it's for, fixing a broken pipe on Main Street. I mean, we just spent hours and hours going through your budget, getting it ready, and going through all of
Yeah.
those line items. So it has to be someone who knows the water system,
yeah,
who
it's-
says it needs to go
It's
in
superintendent.
this line,
but
right?
since we don't have, we have some,
Right.
um,
But the operators are putting it in the ground, so it seems like they could give some guidance.
yeah, but they don't know anything about budgets. They don't worry about that.
But
So
they-
It's gonna be a budget item or a category or a cubby hole to put it in, so.
Right, but they would at least say, okay, this is for a water main break, and then, maybe the rest of us can figure out which one of these lines it goes in.
Yeah, yeah, I think
But,
that's the way to do it, but the superintendent we'd be hiring would also be taking care of this thing. And all we would be looking at initially would be the bill.
Right.
And then from there, and I don't wanna hold things up, but from there, it would go onto a warrant and go uptown. Is there any, I don't know, is it? do we
Is there
need
anything in that pile that needs to be reviewed by the board so it can be ordered? That you're aware of, Carmen?
All these things have been ordered, haven't they, Carol?
No, they haven't, not all of them.
Not all of them, so there are some that haven't been ordered. And they're waiting,
Waiting for those to get signed.
okay. Okay, well, what we normally do with this case is just start going through them, so. You wanna do that, do you want us to do that, and then, we wanna move you, get you
Yeah.
freed up here, so do you want us to do that a little later?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
do that later. We're, more concerned with
So
the
we-
process
Is
and.
there any
Yeah.
discussion on that? I
We
mean-
don't wanna hold, if they need to buy, I authorized, Glenn had made some inquiries about some things he needed to get done, and there were vendors that were used by the water department, and I said, do it, because
Yeah.
we have to get some of these things done.
Although he really isn't authorized by the board to do that, but he
Well,
does.
I
do it.
authorized them, so I had,
But we need to keep the
we don't
paperwork going
want,
here.
we
so-
don't want some
Yeah.
of these things to wait. And, there were things about, water main connections on people's property
Yeah.
and things.
There's a gamut of issues, so. If, like, if Bridgetta has a problem and can't get a hold of anybody here, or they're out in the field, or they're worrying about making sure the chemicals are applied properly to the school, to the water system, she could say, hey, can you come down on your way out of town or whatever, and just go through these 3 or 4 items for me and help me out with this? So I'll be happy to come by, straight around,
She's pretty good about, previewing things, as the week goes on and taking a look at things. I think she's getting more and more familiar.
Yeah.
And I've been looking at Peachtree as well and kind of trying to make sure things are in the right categories. I believe there should be in your packages, an income statement from Peachtree with expenses year to date.
Yeah, I saw
So, hopefully you're getting more useful information.
Yes, I think
and-
things are starting to, be more
Right,
clear or
right.
understandable.
Right, so I mean, the better the information is that goes into Peachtree, the more useful the information that you get out of it is.
Yeah,
So,
I think we need some prompting sometimes. I mean, what we were doing in the past is we weren't even looking at these bills during a meeting. We would have come in, Roy would come in before he went on to a job in the morning, or I would come in, or,
Well, that's when John had them all taken care of and they were made out of the warrant list.
mhm.
so we would look at the warrant, go through the bills, and generally one of us would sign off on all the invoices.
Right,
Okay, and then there was no PO far and few infrequent to between, we just didn't see many POs, so.
right.
In an effort to get this PO system going, we decided, well, we're gonna have
Well,
to.
that was started when John went on sick the first time, Laura took over. That's when we started the purchase of it.
It was overwhelming, I think, for her, I don't know what all these things were, or what were they for, and then we found that, there was some deficiencies in filling out a PO, so it needs to be streamlined. But I think the PO should be reviewed by a superintendent before it goes to the board, and then the board should go and see if there's a PO for some of these items. Did somebody make 3 calls to make, some competitive bidding? Did they work hard enough to get the bidding? Did it, you know, what is this, is there something on here that shouldn't be on there?
Mhm.
It's those kind of eyes that, you know, that is needed in the review process to keep the costs down. So Stu happens to be the best, you know, eagle eye for that kind of stuff. He finds a lot of things, and sometimes it goes by me and Roy, so.
Well, during the interim, I was under the assumption you'd be reviewing some of these things
Yeah.
in the absence of a regular superintendent. So if it's not you, then Stu, but I suggest that during this time period, one of the commissioners kind of, you know, does the work, does that cursory review that needs to take place and maybe initial it, so that when it comes before the board, it's already been vetted by one of the commissioners who knows what these things are that I told you that I don't know, so I was thinking it was you, and I had asked you to come down to review that, because I know there was a number of things that the water operators are waiting for to be ordered.
Yeah,
And I just want to point that out. I think
Okay,
it's
so
imperative you start to order these things.
make sure that Carmen, make sure that you and Bridget know that you need to get, you know, us down here to look at things.
Well, I think you want one commissioner to be the point person on the purchase order until we get the superintendent. You can look at it at another meeting, but if they're vetted to begin with, you know, they can go forward and order these things. If it's Mr. Dalzell that's going to be the designated water commissioner, then, you know, he'll come in and look at the pile at his convenience and make sure if he's got questions, it goes back to the water operators for more information or whatever. If it's fine, you initial it and it gets ordered, because we don't want to hold things up. That's what my concern is. Till the superintendent's hired, we have to have
I
a
think
system in place.
the purchase order can either be, right now, my recommendation is the purchase order can either be approved by you.
I don't know what's on these, so that's why I'm saying you three commissioners have a better idea than I do on what some of these items are.
It's no problem. The trade there, what they want.
I have no problem with that.
That's what I mean, one of you.
No, if he just leaves it in the window like you do, where you need something signed, I can just come in at night and do it if that's what the board wants.
Well, it's easier if there's one commissioner that's just
Well, I think
designated.
that, Roy,
before.
do you want to handle the purchase orders?
Yeah.
And then I'll handle the bills. So look and make sure that your purchase orders are there before we pay off the bill.
I don't mind doing it, I'm around town all the time. It's okay.
Okay, so why don't we look at this, and then if we need to modify it, and then change the roles, next meeting we'll do that. Okay?
Yeah, I just think there should be a system during the interim, and I'm really not the person that understands what's being ordered.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good point. Okay, next item,
Sue's gonna bring something.
we gotta bring this up a little later, okay? Did you wanna bring up something else, Phil?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Young lady's been sitting there for over an hour. I'll read the letter. To the Raleigh Water Commission, my name is Dale Bryan. I've lived at 95 Main Street for over 30 years. I've had well water at this time, but it has developed too much iron in recent years. So last fall, I applied for a permit to convert over to town water. As you can see by the enclosed copy of my check, I paid $3,000 to John, the head of the Raleigh Water Department, on October 22nd, 2013. I then proceeded to go through hell to get the permit, finally resorting to calling the state water department in Arlington to make this happen. I even had the Arlington office call the Raleigh Water Department because I was so exasperated with dealing with them. The man in Arlington called me back and said, "I see what you mean," and went ahead and issued me the permit. This process took so long that I missed the season for installing the system, and consequently had plumbing problems over the winter because of the excessive iron in the well water. Excuse me. Now it's spring and it's finally going in. Today I went to the water department to pick up what I thought would be a meter spacer for my plumbers to use tomorrow when they hook up inside my house, only to find out that I needed to pay another $813.56 for the parts needed to complete this job. This expense was never disclosed to me last fall when I paid the $3,000. Mr. Dalzell also disclosed to me today that the 3,000 I paid is for new homes. Older homes are much less. My house is over 100 years old. I'm very upset about the runaround I've gotten. This level of incompetence is unacceptable. I demand a refund for the overage I paid in the fall of $800, and then the $813.56 I paid today for something I was led to believe was included in the permit price. If this situation is not resolved to my satisfaction, I'm going to contact my attorney as well as the town attorney. Surely our town can do better than this for its taxpayers. There's a copy of Mrs.
I
Bryan's
believe
first check.
the meters used to go with it before, we just changed it just recently. So I mean, she goes back far enough that she's gonna have to pay for a meter,
Well, this is what I was told.
right?
For new homes, the permit fee is $3,000. Existing homes used to be 100, and I believe it went up to 500.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a new hookup. I can see that part, because never had town water in that house.
But it's an existing home.
Yeah, but still, it's a new hookup, so it's how the bylaw is written.
It was always an existing home. It's much less than a home they were just building.
But what I'm saying is, the way the bylaw is written, if it's a new hookup from the main, you know, a new service,
I understand what you're saying.
regardless if it's a new house or an old house, but that $800, I believe, just went into effect, so that doesn't count.
I'm not talking about the $800 as much as I am the $3,000.
I mean, you just said go back on the bylaws, but I mean, the bylaws, it is for a new service. It's not, it doesn't make a difference if it's a new house or an old house, it's the same for the service.
It was never that way. An existing house,
It has been for the 5 years I've been here.
it has not, because I know somebody who paid 500 and plus the parts, shut not too long ago.
So it's supposed to be 3.
Well, the parts issue should be, what are the parts are they talking about? Just the water meters? Or?
I'm not disputing the parts as much as I am the permit. We'll get to that, the parts, after. But that permit was always much less for an existing home.
If it had water in it, so it's like the way the bylaw is written.
I could mention a dozen homes
Well,
on
I'm
well
saying
water to town
the
water,
bylaw
and they did
is
not
written for
pay
a new
$3,000 fee.
It's a new service, regardless.
Okay, so we need
So
to
this
look
is a
at
lot
the,
of what's happened to me in the last.
I think what we gotta do is we gotta get the bylaws out and go over it. If you give us a week to go over this thing,
Yeah, yeah.
and straighten out by the next, we're gonna drag out the thing and take care of this for you the best we can.
so did they give you an invoice for the 3,000 for a fee?
I'll have to look and see, I have to cancel a check
Here's
right there.
Mrs. Bryan's canceled check right there.
Also, Tony Maggio was my plumber, that for the in-house stuff, and he was with me the day we talked to John about this, and he heard the same thing I did. He told me that 3,000 was all I had to pay.
Well, that's what I was under the impression is, but I don't know. Roy's bringing up the bylaws, so if you want to look at the
Well,
bylaws.
that too.
We're gonna have to go back, I mean,
Yeah.
And they sent me a water bill after that, and I didn't even have a hookup, twice. I called once to say, I haven't even got it yet, and then I got another water bill the next quarter.
I mean,
Doesn't give me a lot of
How could they
confidence.
send you a water bill when you don't have a meter?
Right.
the lady's $3,000 was taken in cash,
Crazy.
and they did nothing about it last fall. She just had her water put in 2 weeks ago. Getting a permit. It's not right.
Did you have the water put in already?
Finally, yesterday, it went in.
Okay,
And
okay.
the thing that they put in leaked.
What did
so
the,
they
I'm
had
just
to-
curious, what did the plumber say about this? You know,
He said that he heard the same thing I did last fall, that the 3,000 I paid was what I had to pay at the time, and that was it. So I got this
Well, then
big,
Stu's bringing up a point about you were an existing house. And
well, right, that was never brought up last fall when I paid the
I don't know.
$3,000. I didn't know.
I mean, the way it was said.
Nobody knew what they were talking about, that was pretty clear though.
When we went over this back when I first came on, because it did go up, I think it went from 25 to 3. I could be wrong on the 25, but it did go up.
What, an existing house?
No, it's not for an existing
What are
house.
you talking
It's
about,
got nothing to do with the existing house. It's for a service going into the house.
I
You own
respectfully
it, follow
disagree.
down. It's
I
the
can
same-
show you a dozen homes, existing homes, that did not pay the $3,000. An
Well,
existing
that's-
home was cheaper.
Let's see. So you've, right now, you paid 3,000 and you paid 800.
Paid
some odd.
3,850 some odd dollars.
Okay, so then,
But
is your $800 check been cashed?
I don't, probably not, I just gave it to him yesterday. I wouldn't think, or the day before.
No.
They went across the road a couple of weeks ago and then just hooked you up yesterday, the plumber inside.
Right, this has been agonizing, it has taken forever, everything went wrong, everything went wrong.
Well, we've
And
been
nobody
through
seemed
that.
to know,
Um,
have an answer for anything.
Roy, can you look at the regulations on this case and see what it is?
We're gonna have
And make a
to,
copy of
you
it?
know, that way there, we got,
Yeah.
we know it would be fair.
All right. And as far as the $800, just put that,
I don't,
put that on
Mr.
hold.
Chairman?
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the fee for purchasing the meter is paid to a third party, not to the water department. Is that correct?
well, they get changed just recently, the
Yeah,
fire.
You're right, I did write it out to the
Did you
town.
already
right?
get a check
That's
to tie
correct.
sales?
Glenn instructed me to mail a check out to tie sales.
No, that check.
That's how I wrote it up.
Right, so the town of
So
Raleigh
it did go out?
does not own, does not sell the meters directly. What happens is they're
I
purchased
think we were
through.
in the past, but we're not doing it now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Because of the sales tax.
I think that the 3,000 should cover the expense of the equipment too, so.
Well, existing home is always much less money for a hookup. Where's the fairness?
Yeah, we need to look at our bylaws to see, we've got to be compliant with our bylaws, so unfortunately,
Give us a week to let us straighten it out and, get back to you,
So
in
what
all
about-
fairness, so.
All right, what about the check that I gave yesterday, did that get mailed or
It
something?
did.
The one thing that goes out on time, right? Thank
Yeah.
you.
But might mean that you can file for an abatement, I guess.
Oh my God, the paperwork I've got to file for an abatement, okay.
I don't know.
So what should I do?
He's gonna look at the bylaws.
Yeah.
You're gonna come to the next meeting and we'll have an answer for you for the next meeting.
Okay. About both parts, both the piece
Whether
of equipment
3,000
and the
or
paperwork?
that it's supposed to be 500 or the $800 that, should have been included into a $3,000 fee.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we did in the past. Maybe we were doing it sometimes, not all the times. He thinks that we weren't. doing
That's
it
my
wrong.
point.
Yeah.
Everyone has to be treated fairly.
Right, exactly. So everybody's gotta be treated fairly.
Right.
That's why I asked.
If everybody gets charged $3,800 for a hookup, then that's what, we have to make changes. I don't
Well,
think that's
it should
fair.
be disclosed up front,
Yeah.
which it was not.
Yeah.
Now, I expect to pay my fair share, but I honestly have no confidence in what I've seen going on, and it's just been crazy.
Yeah.
But Mrs. Bryant, well, delivered the check for $3,000 last October. Nothing was done till 2 weeks ago.
And then you were out $3,000, you didn't have water until last week, or this week.
Right.
What was the reason why it took so long? Was it our water department or?
Totally
It was
unacceptable.
trying to, do you know what happened? Trying to get the permit, right? Because I'm on 1A, right, State Road.
Also from the state?
No, it was from here. But because it's a state road, it's something, it had to go through the state as well. So at one point, somebody had told me, I can't remember if it was John or not now, who really never spoke at all when I dealt with him, that I should hire an engineer to go down to Arlington and thumb through the books and see if they couldn't find the drawings of the state road in front of my house so we would know where they would hook up from across the street where the pipe was. At that point I thought, these people don't know what they're talking about and I'm not hiring an engineer to go to Arlington and thumb through some books. That's when I called Arlington and said, help me here, I need to get this done. And the guy was hesitant, and so I convinced him to call, and he called me back in 10 minutes, and he said, I see what you mean, I'll get the permit done for you. So he just skipped over everything, was screwed up here, and got me the permit. So then I finally got it done last.
Do you have a copy of the permit? Why not?
But they know,
You gave a copy of the permit, well, like, you got a permit from the state?
Richard Brocklebank did the work, so he has,
Okay.
whatever it was. I never actually saw the permit from the state.
So I would-
Because they could only send it in.
Is there any chance you
and
could
send
get
it
a copy of that permit? and just-
You have it, yeah.
Oh, we do, okay.
Because I said to them, can you send it to me? I'm afraid if you send it there, I'll never see it. And he said, well, we can't, we have to send it to them, so. But I'm assuming it's there because the work did get done. And like I said, Richard Brocklebank is the contractor that did it, so.
Okay, so
He
we
must
need to
have seen
locate that permit for the next meeting. Okay. And so I would suggest you come to the next meeting. We'll find out in the bylaws what is what.
Is that next Tuesday, same time?
We're not sure yet, because we want to make sure that these gentlemen are going to meet and come up with a solution for
You can see what
our building
issues.
inspector issues. So,
Mr. Chairman, Mrs. Bryant shouldn't have to keep coming back. We do what we can for her, get back to her.
Okay,
Do you have my phone number on that letter? They do that.
yes.
Okay. So I'll wait to hear from somebody.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that at least once you determine that, it shouldn't take too long to figure the bylaw or the.
Once I find it,
Right,
I mean,
It's
Within
regulations.
within a
yeah,
day or
it's
two,
not in the
someone should be able
bylaws.
to contact her and let her know at least where she stands, what she owes or doesn't owe, or doesn't owe any at this point, but what kind of rebate she's gonna get, and then maybe she can come down here and get an assist in getting an abatement form or whatever it takes to, and obviously this whole woman's gone through hell here,
Done a full-time job.
trying to get this done, and I think whatever the board can do to expedite the process without coming to a meeting necessarily, would certainly be helpful for everybody.
you know what I'm saying? So you can just go to that section.
So the outcome here will be a possible abatement to abate,
Of course.
a fee if the bylaws permit. Any suggestions, any discussions? Okay, so Roy,
I'll find it as soon as I can.
okay. Decide next meeting. And I'll give this to Carmen. Okay. I'm sorry for all the confusion down here.
Thank you. Okay, I'll hear from you, somebody with that.
Okay,
That's good, okay, thank you.
okay.
Thank you for your time.
Is there any other things that might be imperative right now to free you two up?
Well, you have the commitments that need, the commitment for May, for the bills that need to go out. And also, there are commitments from November, December, January, February, and March for service. When I was helping you guys with the bills, I wasn't aware that the service commitments didn't go in with the water commitments. So basically, they need to be signed for the record. Carmen, I think, has them in there. You'll see there's one for each month for service connections, final readings, and that's pretty much all that's on there. There may be.
Do you need that with you tonight so you can?
No, those are basically for, for your water commitment files.
Okay,
So I just wanted to explain why, you have service commitments that go back to November,
okay.
and why I'm signing these, because they're old.
Any problems with the new commitment?
Nothing aware of.
No, I spoke with Tara King at Penachek. I believe they look at the readings, and there was one that seemed to have had, I do not know what the address is, but high readings the last 2 months, and she was going to, reach out to that customer and see, if they were having some kind of a problem. So, once you get a superintendent in, that pre-commitment report that comes out would be something, that could be reviewed by the superintendent. And Penachek can provide reports to the superintendent that show, you can set outliers. For example, if you have somebody whose water usage is, over 150% of their average, you might want to take a look at it. Or if you have somebody with zero usage, you would want to take a look at it, because that would be indicative that there might be problems. But that's something that, is, should be performed by the superintendent once one is hired.
Well, right now, the primary is kind of doing that stuff.
Right, right.
So,
And with
did you
regard
find
to,
that 63 Central Street was high usage? On this,
that's Carmen's initial on that, I don't know.
so 63 Central Street, so
Yes, Stuart asked me to add that to the agenda.
is that,
Here it is. How many questions? We send the operators down to change the meter for these folks, because it went way over and they're very consistent. It's 63 Central Street.
Yeah, look at, there's a thing on the back there, I mean, it went sky high, it's unbelievable.
Is that something that's gone through Penachek?
Yes.
So
Well, she got a
Penachek-
bill there from Penachek, let's put it that way.
Right, but the procedure is that the customer, instead of contacting the water department,
It's all, excuse me, go ahead.
no, it should be contacting Penachek,
Yes.
and then Penachek would be scheduling a water operator to go out there and then following up and making sure that, the customer's problem is resolved.
His words to me were, he wasn't satisfied, he did not get much satisfaction.
From Penachek?
Yes.
We would like to escalate that to Tara Kingman. If there's a problem. Can we get a copy of that? Carmen?
Now, would you be kind enough to make a copy?
Yeah, I got it right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, take this one, take this one. then.
Want to get a second here? Take a look at this here. This is on purchase on it. Just on there.
Here's another bill for $1,794.31, and the house has been empty. It's a new house and has not been lived in.
Oh, they got marked for
This looks like it has usage from March of 2013. That's why this bill is so high. We can certainly have that taken, we can have them take a look at that too.
well, we need to do it right quick because we got a plant that's in sleep phase, so these guys can do things right now, so.
Right, well, like I said, we've established a procedure and a contract with Penachek on how these things are to be handled, and we can escalate that to Tara
Okay.
and
Can you
find
do
out.
that? Can you do that?
Yes, definitely. And in reading this letter, I discussed the matter with the builder of the house, who told me that on 2 different occasions he found the outside faucets open before he turned off the water from inside. I don't know, and this goes back to March of 2013.
What's the total bill?
The total bill is $1794.31.
Yeah, but I think he showed the gallons beside it, like it was 2 or 3 gallons and 7 gallons or something like that.
Right, Right, but I mean, in July of 2013, there was usage of 13,856 gallons. Why, I mean, why did it take so long to bring this to the board's attention? Because I think this is also something that's addressed in your bylaws,
Yeah.
that says if you dispute a bill, you need to do it within a certain period of time. But I will certainly, send these to Tara first thing tomorrow morning.
Well, without launching a big investigation, can
Yeah.
we find out from the customer, if this was a bill going back to July, why wasn't he bringing this up sooner? I mean, I
Well-
don't understand why he should have been given a lien if he didn't pay his bill.
I mean, I don't know. But this says that there was has never been occupied, but I can see, readings and usage.
Where is the place?
Cindy Lane.
Is it a new house? Or?
No house.
Okay.
But, I mean, clearly something was going on from, June until October.
Yeah.
But, we can have that investigated and
Yeah, let's
then,
just, with this, then it goes from cut to have one of the operators look at the,
absolutely, absolutely. But the reason to have Penachek schedule that is so that we have a feedback loop. So that, we're, there's communication
okay.
definitely going back to the customer and, we'll pass along that,
Did the
apparently.
customer, I'm sorry, can I cut you off? Did the customer bring this thing up, or is it
So,
Ken Pennicuick brought this up?
Well, Stu had letters
So Steve
from
had-
customers.
But Pennicuick didn't pick up
no,
on
I'm
it.
just saying, a service is the link between one.
That-
We don't know.
I mean,
It doesn't seem like.
We
Well,
don't
let's
know,
find out.
But when we call Tara
Fitting
King,
connection.
she will have a record of that fact that the customer called in
Yeah.
and who they